You've probably had that moment, sitting in a meeting, sensing something's off, but struggling to name it. You have insight, even intuition, but not always the words. And in professional life, that gap between what you know and what you can say, that's the difference between being heard and being ignored. Nietzsche once said, "God is dead," a radical way of saying the old sources of meaning no longer guide us. But here's the paradox. When the old gods are gone, clarity becomes power. Real empowerment doesn't come from a title or a louder voice. It comes from understanding systems, being able to navigate in our often challenging world. Since this navigation is all about interacting with our environment, being able to speak that understanding with courage, clarity, and precision is all important. That's where your power begins. It lives inside you, and that's what this video is here to unlock.
Key logistics concepts like flow, coordination, or lead time could change how others listen to you in meetings, how clearly you think, and how confidently you speak. Using these words is not limited to questions about physical distribution of goods. It's funny how flow, coordination, and lead time are words you can hook onto many other real-life situations. These words are examples of navigation tools in life, both professional and in everyday familiar settings. These contexts, private and professional, are not separate. Who you are doesn't change just because you are in a professional role. Clearly, the professional setting is important. It's where we win the bread. In every professional setting, the way we speak, what we say, how we say it, and whether it resonates matters more than ever. And yet many people feel under-equipped. They sense complexity but lack the words. They want to contribute but hesitate. This is where empowerment begins, not with status, but with understanding and the ability to speak that understanding into action. Let's now take a brief dive into what, for many business and public service professionals, may feel like uncharted territory: philosophy. Who knows? We might just uncover some wisdom along the way.
Many think they know Nietzsche, the guy who said God is dead, but I think that's an oversimplification. It's a philosophical diagnosis of a civilization losing its moral compass and needing to find new sources of meaning, identity, and ethics. Honestly, if God were dead, this video wouldn't exist. It's built on inspiration. Call it divine if you like.
We won't further explore that particular idea here. Instead, let's turn to some of his other thought-provoking insights from the late 1800s that still resonate today. Nietzsche spoke of the will to power, not simply as a quest for dominance, but as a profound human drive to create, to express, and to transform the world around us. In professional life, this might mean speaking with clarity rather than deference, suggesting improvements rather than tolerating dysfunction, framing problems so others can finally see them clearly. But Nietzsche's vision of inner strength isn't the whole story. This is where Michel Foucault steps in. He reminds us that power doesn't just reside in institutions or laws. It resides in discourse, the vocabularies, frameworks, and assumptions that determine what can be said, who is heard, and what counts as truth. Discourse is how systems retain power. It decides. What is a valid concern? Understanding valid concerns is crucial for effective communication and problem solving. Addressing these concerns with empathy and providing clear explanations can build trust and foster positive relationships. What is off limits? Who gets to speak as an expert? And who is silently dismissed? You may have insight, experience, even moral clarity, but if you speak outside the dominant discourse, your words may be ignored, your logic misread, or your motives questioned. And yet, paradoxically, this is also where change begins. To speak against the grain of a dominant system, using clear, grounded, and creative concepts, is risky. You may be met with resistance, silence, even ridicule. Your voice may feel fragile at first, unsupported by precedent. But if what you say carries real understanding, if it resonates with unspoken tensions, it can light a spark. Because the status quo is not whole, it is brittle, and people often feel the cracks, but lack the words to name them. When you speak from knowledge using your inner wisdom and you contradict the system, not with noise, but with conceptual clarity and empathy, you may not just be understood. You may become the person who illuminates the structural contradictions that others only sense. It is in these moments that your voice becomes something more. A torch carried into the muddled darkness of procedural speech and hollow rhetoric. You're not only participating, you're redefining the discourse, not by shouting louder, but by saying what others need but don't yet have the words for. This is why empowerment is not simply about access or volume. It is about knowing the system's logic deeply enough to question it meaningfully and speaking with enough clarity, courage, and consistency to shift the boundaries of what's considered legitimate thought. And yet, there's another challenge. Jean Baudrillard's idea of the hyperreal, a world where simulation replaces substance. We imitate authority. We use buzzwords, agility, transformation, innovation, without fully understanding them. We perform a media-based competence rather than embody our interpersonal experiences. And when someone asks a serious question, the illusion collapses, the mask falls. This is the professional crisis of our time, when experience-based knowledge is replaced with performance. People can tell when you mean what you say. Authentic professionals. Speak from real understanding. Use precise, meaningful terms. Remain composed under scrutiny. And command trust because their speech is grounded. Inauthenticity is fragile. Authenticity is resilient. And authenticity begins with knowledge.
So how do you speak with impact? Clearly, authentically, and strategically. The answer begins with understanding logistics and supply chain thinking, not just as business functions, but as ways of seeing and speaking about the world. Let's start with the foundation, logistics.
Most people think logistics is about trucks and warehouses, but that's only the surface. At its core, logistics is about flow, how things move, how they're synchronized, and how value is created through coordination across time and space. Physical distribution, what most people think of. Yes, logistics often refers to transport, warehousing, inventory, delivery, a retail chain moving goods from suppliers to customers, using real-time data to manage inventory and delivery. But this is just one kind of logistics. In the service economy, logistics takes a different form, coordinating people, spaces, and timing, managing capacity, readiness, and quality of experience. A festival synchronizing artists, technicians, venues, and ticketing. A hospital managing surgical schedules, staffing, equipment availability, and patient flow. In services, logistics isn't about shipping, it's about orchestrating performance. Logistics in all sectors, even yours. Logistics shows up in public sector, transit planning, public health delivery, emergency response. Volunteer work, food drives, shelter coordination, disaster response. Daily life, school schedules, errands, work meetings, household routines. If you're coordinating anything, you're already doing logistics. Humanitarian logistics, coordination under pressure. Nowhere is logistics more visible and more urgent than in humanitarian crises. After a natural disaster, NGOs and agencies must deploy aid, food, water, medicine, to remote areas under pressure with limited information. This means navigating broken infrastructure, prioritizing with limited data, coordinating across sectors and jurisdictions. This is logistics not as cost control, but as ethical response, where coordination means survival. If logistics is about flow, supply chain management, SCM, is about alignment. SCM is a normative framework. It's how we create trust, consistency, and cooperation across organizational boundaries. It involves defining shared goals, structuring partnerships, negotiating responsibilities, managing complexity strategically. Some key distinctions are logistics meaning operational execution, supply chain management meaning structural alignment and relational trust, a sustainable fashion brand that works closely with fabric suppliers, logistics providers, and retail partners to align on ethics, timelines, and transparency, not just on price. SCM is how we speak across organizations. It's the grammar of collaboration. Speaking SCM leads to speaking with strategic impact. When you know this practical and very workable language, you can frame discussions that cross silos, diagnose where coordination is breaking down, and help others align, adapt, and improve. SCM and logistics are far more than just technical terms or flowcharts buried in dusty reports or archived in some forgotten corner of a corporate server. They are living, breathing functions at the heart of every organization, dynamic processes that shape how we experience the world around us. Whether it's the arrival of a long-awaited package, the smooth running of a hospital, or the freshness of produce on a grocery shelf, supply chain management and logistics are there, silently orchestrating complexity into order. These disciplines are not abstract theories. They are practical, tangible, and deeply human. Everyone, whether they know it or not, interacts with them every day. To understand SCM and logistics is to gain insight into the invisible infrastructure that enables modern life. And in doing so, we not only sharpen our professional capabilities, we also begin to see the world with new eyes. In a world flooded with complexity and performance, your ability to speak clearly, authentically, and strategically is a form of power. It's how you build trust, shape decisions, connect people, and create value, whether you're leading a team, proposing a project, or facilitating a crisis response. This is the voice of empowered professionals, people who understand what they're saying, why it matters, and how to say it clearly.
If you're ready to build that voice, grounded in clarity, systems thinking, and meaningful impact, check out my book and course on creating value through smarter interaction, through understanding the fundamentals of SCM and logistics. This approach is designed for professionals, not just those already deep in their careers, but also those preparing to enter the field. That includes students, emerging leaders, and anyone curious about how real-world systems actually work. The scope is deliberately broad because supply chain management and logistics touch every corner of the economy: manufacturing, healthcare, retail, government services, humanitarian aid, education, and more. Whether you're working in a high-tech startup, managing a public institution, or coordinating grassroots volunteer efforts, the principles remain the same. Understanding logistics equips you with the tools to organize, coordinate, and create flow of goods, of information, of people. It's not just for factories or warehouses. Logistics is the invisible engine behind every functional system, from global corporations to local food banks. Mastering it means unlocking the power to bring structure to complexity, anywhere, anytime. Links are in the description below. And subscribe for more videos on AI, coordination, learning systems, and how to speak with insight in an increasingly complex world. I am put 5 to 6 videos this first week, and after that I will publish new videos regularly.
So maybe now you see it. You didn't need to reinvent yourself with a new personality or speak louder to be heard. What you really needed were the right concepts, the right language. I believe that one of the most powerful foundations for making a real impact in corporate life is a solid understanding of what supply chain management and logistics truly are. Every organization, whether in the public sector, private enterprise, or service industry, relies on effective internal integration and collaboration across the wider supply chain. And at the heart of this lies the operations function, how goods and services are actually produced, delivered, and experienced. Logistics is the beating heart of operations beyond the point of fabrication. It connects processes, synchronizes flows, and enables value to be created and delivered. Understanding logistics is like turning on a light. It reveals how production systems function in reality, and more importantly, it gives you the vocabulary to articulate that insight. When you can speak the language of logistics, others start to listen, not just because you're louder, but because you make sense. You've seen how ideas like flow, coordination, and lead time aren't just technical terms, they're lenses. They provide focus, they give direction in your thinking, they help you decode organizational complexity. They give you the confidence to speak up at work, the clarity to challenge what isn't working, and the vocabulary to build what could. This isn't about sounding smart, it's about being grounded enough to ask better questions, to frame better problems, and to offer solutions that others can actually hear. And when that happens, when you move from vague instinct to precise insight, you're not just participating in the conversation, you're changing it. So take what you've learned here into your next meeting, your next project, your next hard conversation. And remember, clarity is power. Not because it dominates, but because it connects. Keep learning, keep speaking, keep creating value through smarter interaction and the knowledge that makes it possible.